The conflict in the Middle East is well into its sixth day, and a dozen nations have been drawn into the war. Today, Israel has issued a new evacuation order to residents living in southern Lebanon as its military pushes deeper into the area. New video shows Israeli tanks and other vehicles rolling through several villages in southern Lebanon today. It follows a series of Israeli airstrikes across the country overnight. Israel has now ordered everyone in densely populated southern Beirut to leave their homes as airstrikes continue and ground troops move closer. Meanwhile, Iran is launching a fresh barrage of missiles towards Israel. Sirens were heard over Jerusalem and alerts were also issued across Tel Aviv. And the streaks seen here shooting into the sky are Israeli interceptors, part of the Israeli defense system. The Israeli military says Iranian forces had fired ballistic missiles which were intercepted. And this is some video verified by Reuters showing airstrikes earlier today in northwestern Iran. A spokesperson for the Israeli military confirms that attacks on regime targets in the region are seen as a way to open a path for Iranian Kurdish militias to fight on the ground. Tehran has also been a focus for new airstrikes.
Now,
meanwhile, here's an attempt by an opposition leader to send a message to Iranians today. Backers of Reza Pahlavi, the son of the former Shah, hacked into Iranian state TV. He appears to be urging viewers to seize the moment and overthrow the regime. Now, the conflict is expanding quickly. Since it began on Saturday, more than a dozen countries have become involved, either as direct targets or because they've intercepted drones and missiles. Azerbaijan in Central Asia is just the latest nation to report drone attacks. And there are other reports today from more strikes on Qatar, Bahrain, and the United Arab Emirates. So there's lots of developments today, but we do want to begin this hour in Jerusalem, where we find the CBC's Crystal Gamansing. She brings us the latest.
Well, Arthi, we are now back in Jerusalem, and it is relatively quiet right now. But I can say when we first got back, there was that mobile alert. Everyone was waiting to see if there would be sirens that sounded. And from this vantage point, we could hear a number of jets up in the air. So it is still very active. At the same time, the Home Command Center, which falls under the Israel Defense Forces, actually eased some of the emergency measure systems that were in place. People are now allowed to go back to work. There can be gatherings of 50 people or more as long as it is in with close proximity to a shelter. Now, schools will remain closed. That is something that they have stated clearly. And people, of course, are still being warned to pay attention to those alerts and to get into a shelter when the sirens go. And they are really stressing they don't want people to leave those shelters until that official all clear is given. So kind of mixed messages here. The Israelis are saying that they are moving ahead with the strikes, that things are going in their favor, but they are still trying to make sure that people in Israel are paying attention, that the situation has not necessarily eased and it's not any safer right now on the ground.
Now, let's also turn to the escalation on the northern border with Hezbollah in Lebanon. You've just actually returned from that area. What do you know about what's happening on that front?
Yeah, this is a front that is expanding and the rhetoric is being ratcheted up. So we know that there are more troops on the ground having crossed the border and are now in Lebanon. The initial warning for people to evacuate went to southern Lebanon, right on that border between northern Israel and southern Lebanon. But that evacuation order has expanded to include a massive area with tens of thousands of people now being told to leave the southern suburbs of Beirut. That is considered to be a Hezbollah stronghold. There have been ongoing air bombardments by the Israeli Air Force of the south, but also the capital. Israel saying they are hitting all sites related to Hezbollah, and they are issuing those strict warnings, telling people to get out of those areas for their own safety. Adding to the intensity of all of this is far-right Minister Bezalel Smotrich putting out a video issuing his own warning, telling people in that suburb of Beirut that they will destroy that area and have it looking similar to Khan Yunis in Gaza. So things are definitely ratcheting up on that front. And we know that there has been a strong push. They're not having any of the citizens leave northern Israel. Instead, they are adding troops going across the border, adding more military assets, more intense strikes happening in the south and on Beirut. And of course, we are hearing from Lebanese health officials, the health ministry saying that 102 people have been killed in strikes since Monday, more than 600 individuals wounded. And we know that tens of thousands have already been displaced, and humanitarian groups say they are struggling to figure out how to care for all of these people who are now seeking shelter in other parts of the capital, Arthi.
As we continue to track what's going on in the region, we know that Iran continues retaliatory strikes while it remains under bombardment. So what's happening with that?
Yeah, the latest we got from Israel Defense Forces was that they conducted their 113th wave of airstrikes today, saying they continue to focus on western and central Iran. These are strikes that they say are taking out missile launchers and missile stockpiles. At this point, they have been conducting intense air operations of those locations. We can't get a sense of just how many launchers are left, what the stockpile situation is. So we know that those strikes are continuing. We also got word from the World Health Organization. The Secretary General, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, has said that the WHO has verified 13 attacks on health sites during these strikes by Israel and the U.S. These are verified strikes on health facilities, and there is a warning for everyone to pay attention to the international rules of war and not strike these hospitals. But we are hearing confirmation of hospitals being hit. And of course, there's a lot of concern now with Azerbaijan. There were drones that crossed over into their airspace. There are multiple violations. They're talking of at least 4 drone incidents now. There was an explosion near the airport. Officials there are calling for an official explanation and an apology. A part of Azerbaijan's airspace has now been shut down as they wait to see exactly if they're given any information. They are warning for these attacks, what they're calling terrorist attacks, to end, and trying to get some information from those who conducted these strikes, these attacks, exactly what happened, why their airspace was violated. So yet another country that is being pulled into this and asking many questions tonight, Arthi.
The CBC's Crystal Gamansing in Jerusalem. Thank you.